Talk about it failing and always putting the square peg into the round hole. We're going to run it. We're going to try and play these lower scoring games. They didn't score over 17 points in the 5 straight losses.
There's a chance for the Ravens to exercise every single demon on their way to a Super Bowl. But it also means the path is very difficult and things are only getting started.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler wants to leave because Jimmy Butler knows that Riles isn't going to pay him, and he wants to get paid. Simply put, if they would have given Jimmy Butler this contract extension in the summer when he asked, this wouldn't be happening. But Riles did it, and Riles wanted him to play. So now he's disgruntled because he wants out.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Morency, the pistol players, the hustlers, the people of Bustle, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Twisted Tuesday has begun. We've got a bunch of games going off the board right now. There's a little bit of something for everybody on the card. Let's start off college basketball. So we got the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Utah Utes. Not the most glamorous basketball game, but an interesting one as far as trends are concerned this evening. And it's hard to keep up with the conferences that these teams are in. So this is a Big 12 matchup with Cincinnati and Utah. This is in Utah. So we're playing in Salt Lake City. Altitude will be a factor here. And this is something interesting, actually, for teams that aren't used to it, right? Cincinnati didn't play BYU before. They didn't play Utah before. So now they've got to deal with altitude, something that they're not used to. They're 12-7 on the season. Now, I think the Cincinnati Bearcats, if you look at their schedule, it's been a pretty tough schedule. This is a really good basketball conference. So they have a lot of, losses to really good teams on the road. But they're only 3-4 on the road. They're 8-3 at home. The Utah Utes are 11-8, similar situation. Utah get lit up sometimes, but they still grind out W's. They're both kind of subpar against the spread. Cincinnati 7-12 ATS on the season. Utah 9-10 on the year. But when I look at this game, and anybody that's been tuning into our show over the years knows I'm not a big under player. But when it comes to this basketball game, I really do kind of wonder where the point's going to come from here in this game. The Cincinnati Bearcats, guys, 16-3 to the under on the season. 16-3 in their 19 games. One of the top trends in sports betting in sports right now. The Cincinnati Bearcats games going under the number. Meanwhile, it's not like the Utes play to the over. They're 11-8 to the under on the season. And, when you're 16-3 to the under, it's not an accident. Right? If you look at their final scores, they're not even getting close. Cincinnati play a lot of, low scoring basketball games. Look, they went to, they played Kansas. Kansas went to Cincinnati. They couldn't crack 95. They got to 94, right? They got to 94. Cincinnati and Colorado got to 130. Cincinnati and Arizona State got to 127. We should note that Cincinnati's last two games have been higher scoring. They gave up 81 points to Texas Tech, and they gave up 80 points to BYU. But Texas Tech are really good, and BYU are really good, and the game was at BYU. So, for the record, their last two games have been higher scoring. They have given up more points, but they only scored 52 points in their last game. Like, Cincinnati can't really score, so if they don't play defense, they get blown out. You figure Utah wins this basketball game in the 60s, right? 68-64 gets us there. Finishes at 132 or something like that. So I think the under is the play in this game. We'll ride the trend. We're going to go with under 137.5 points in this basketball game. Cincinnati and Utah. Under is the theme of the night for us tonight. We've got a heavyweight matchup going down in the National Hockey League this evening in Sin City in Las Vegas. The Dallas Stars and the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Two really, really good teams. Two rock-solid franchises. Two legitimate Stanley Cup contenders and legitimate threats to win the Stanley Cup going head-to-head. They've had a nice rivalry over the years, going head-to-head, playing in the playoffs before. Usually always close games. And in fact, if you look back at these two teams, 4-3, 3-2, 2-1, 2-0, 3-2, 4-3, 3-2, 3-1, 4-3, and we had a 6-1 game a couple of years ago. So, 9 of their last 10 games, what was that, like 8 of them are one-goal games? 7 of them one-goal games? Yeah, seven out of the last 10 times these two teams have played, it's been a one-goal game. It's a pretty short price. We know that Vegas are a great home team. These guys are really good at home, 19-6-1. Dallas are a good road team, 13-10. But, Vegas are kind of beatable at times on the road. At home this year, they're almost unstoppable. Like I said, 19-6-1. I played the under 6 in this hockey game. Speaking of big-time trends to the under, the Dallas Stars are another big under team. The Dallas Stars are a damn good team, 31-17-1. On the season. Vegas 31-15-4. So you get where we're going with this. Two really evenly matched teams. Vegas are stone cold even when it comes to totals. 24-24-2. 24 unders, 24 overs, and 2 pushes. Meanwhile, the Dallas Stars have been a big under team. 29 unders, just 14 overs, 6 pushes on the season. It's an even 6. Let's go with the under between the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars game this evening. College basketball going on right now. Kansas lost a wild one over the weekend to the Houston Cougars. Now we got another wild one going on. Central Florida is going to cover the number unless this thing goes to overtime and somehow Kansas win by a bunch of points. But Kansas have had their hands full all night tonight with UCF. 87-86, Rock Chalk Jayhawk right now. With under about 35 seconds left in this game. The clock is ticking right now. Central Florida, we're getting like 11.5 points. St. John's, this is a dangerous basketball team, St. John's. Love what Pitino is doing with this team. They just play New York style, in-your-face basketball. They absolutely ambushed Georgetown tonight early. They were up 23-3. It was like 37-9. The final score wasn't a true indication. Would it end up like 61-46 or something like that? But the thing that's dangerous about the Johnnies, if you're their opponent, is they can win a slugfest street ball game that that you're going to end up playing in the NCAA tournament at some point in time. And if you want to run and gun, they can also put points up on the board, right? Like if you're going to be a contender, and they're not a top tier contender, but they're a contender, not a tier 1 contender, but if you're gonna be like a top tier team, pretty much in any sport, like really, like I mean, in any sport really, you got to be able to win different styles of games. You can't just win like to your script. Like the Virginia Cavaliers finally won a championship playing to their script, but they also got bounced, right? They became the first team to get bounced as a 1 seed to a 16 seed, and they finally grinded it out. And it's hard to will yourself to victory. You got to sort of have a game. Today we scored 90 points. Yeah, you know what? We won, and we only scored 59 points. You got to be able to win, different types of games. The Houston Cougars are a good example of that, but I don't know. I was just saying, last week or 2 weeks ago that it's hard for me to fully buy into the Houston Cougars. Cougars are almost like the Buffalo Bills, like at this point, right? Houston Cougars can rack up a ton of regular season wins. They get to the tournament. They're going to fall short at some point in time because they don't score enough points. This team seems to be able to be able to put points up on the board. So speaking of football, countdown to kickoff is on. The Super Bowl rematch that nobody asked for or wanted outside of Kansas City and Philadelphia. It's almost like Notre Dame and Ohio State all over again. There's like hashtag Super Bowl boycotts. People are still crying about the officiating. And listen, the Buffalo Bills have no one to blame but themselves. They don't have the officials to blame. Were there a lot of bad calls? Yes, but the referees didn't. They weren't the play caller for the Buffalo Bills. They didn't make the decisions. They're not the ones that got out-coached. The Bills staff was. This is SportsRage. Let's roll.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage, a Twisted Tuesday. I am Gabriel Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM, Channel 159. We got college basketball going on. As I stated, the Cincinnati Bearcats, guys, 16-3 to the under on the season. 19 games, 16 unders. Got 137.5, 138.5 tonight with the Utes. Utah and Cincinnati, 9-7. Actually, a higher scoring start, 9-7, in-game total 142.5 right now with the Bearcats and the Utes. in Salt Lake City. Texas A&M and Oklahoma actually at the half right now. 31-30 for the Aggies, laying 4.5. In-game total, 38.5. Kansas getting all that they can handle from Central Florida. They're not going away, but Kansas are trying. They just fouled them late down there. Kansas are up 3, so they didn't want them taking three-point shots, so they fouled them. So there's 2 seconds left. It looks like Kansas will hang on for the win, but it looks like Central Florida are going to get the cover. We got some late-night hockey. We got Andrew McKinnis ready to step up and in. Cam Stewart in the house. As I stated, I took the under in the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars that game, and there's been a way early goal. Oh, God, there's been another goal. Wow. I was just going to say I like the under 6 in this game. In-game total now 7.5. 1-1 Dallas Stars. Vegas Golden Knights 3.5 minutes in, and I'm on the under. Great start. Ducks up 1-0 on the Kraken and 1-0 for the Capitals. Wow. 2 goals in the Dallas and Vegas game already. I also think Vegas is the play here. The game is still minus 120. Vegas, Dallas minus 110. Cam, what's your pick for Dallas and Vegas?
I don't want to go against you. I'm taking Dallas. And I took them when they were down 1. They just tied it up. That's perfect. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the Kraken. They're down 1 to the Ducks. I will take them. You saw it anytime these teams are down, the comebacks in hockey, it's just a regular thing, Gabe. By the way, just one quick story that'll make you sick. I was watching the Bruins-Sabres game, and the Sabres won 7-2, and those idiots Boston announced, like, the Bills could have used that touchdown on Sunday at Arrowhead. Like, I almost, like, if it wasn't my TV and it was worth money, I was going to put a hole through it. What a bunch of jerks those guys are. Shut up. Classless.
Yeah, we live in a jerk society now.
Yeah.
Where there's no, everything and everybody is fair game.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It is what it is, but you can't complain. I mean, you don't want to, you don't want these jokes to happen. You got to win.
Yeah,
right.
Right. I just think,
it's pretty simple.
That's not cool. Like right afterwards too. Like, come on, guys, you're hockey guys.
Yeah,
too.
but that's a Boston. It's a Boston thing to distract from the number one. I know Edwards retired, but the Bruins guys, like the Red Sox, whatever. They're massive homers to begin with, right? So they're, the Bruins announcers have always just sort of been obnoxious to begin with. And the problem is, it's not like the Buffalo announcers can come back at them with anything.
You're right. They got nothing.
So, like, if you're, what are you going to say? Like, I don't know, the Patriots suck. Yeah, but they also have 1 million Super Bowls, so we don't. So your hands are kind of tied there. But I also, what it was going to say is, it's also a good distraction from the fact, like, they make a bunch of Bruin fans try to forget the fact that you guys suck for once. Mm-hmm. And you fired your coach, and you actually got worse. Andrew McKinnis in the house. We got the Capitals and the Flames going on. McKinnis, 3 hockey games going on right now as we speak. 1-0 Capitals over the Flames. Still 13 minutes left in the second period. In-game total 4.5. Ducks are up 1 early on the Kraken. The Kraken are now plus 145. The total is 6.5. The total is 4.5 in the Washington-Calgary game. And 2 early goals with Vegas and Dallas. The game's basically a pick 'em now, total 7.5. How you doing, Andrew? And who do you like in the NHL in-game right now?
Yeah, good to see you guys as always. I ended up jumping in on all 3 of these games. I got a Calgary team total under 2.5. We got Dallas on the money line, and we got first period, 20 minutes over in the first period, over 1.5 in the latest game. And I'm hoping that we can see one more goal, and I'll cash that ticket. I'm checking to see. I thought I saw a notification. No, not yet. So Ducks, Kraken, first period, over 1.5.
At this rate, there's been a lot of goals so far early in these games. I would get the feeling, you don't want to ever say that anything's for sure, but you got a lot of time to get it. You got 12.5 minutes to get this. It's been a goal fest early. Like I said off the top, Dallas and Vegas, this is a real heavyweight matchup between 2 legitimate Stanley Cup contenders, and my under 6 is toast. There's been a 3rd goal in this game right now. The Vegas Golden Knights have taken a 2-1 lead. We've got 3 goals with 6.5 minutes played in the first period here, McKinnis, in this game. Pretty wild. In-game total 8.5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, these teams met not long ago, and a lot of times I'm a pretty big fan of rapid revenge.
Oh, and there's your Kraken. There's your Kraken goal.
Get
There
Kraken!
it is. It's coming. The Kraken just scored 1-1 now.
There we go.
There's your over
There
1.5.
Nice.
I like it. I'll tell you, those 20-minute picks, you either feel like a genius or you don't. Like, you either feel like, oh, why did I do that? Or like today, I'll tell you guys, you got to feel good about some stuff. And I had the first period -0.5 on Tampa. They finished the first period 1-0, and they lose outright as -400 favorites in the game. So that felt awesome playing the first period, but the full game they lose. But sometimes you play these first periods, they go down 1-0. Like Edmonton yesterday, for example, slow starters, and then they end up winning the game 4-2. So you either feel great or you feel pretty crappy, but nice to be on the good side of that one.
Gabe, I know you're a trends guy, and I couldn't even believe it. I thought it was like maybe 6 or 7. Do you know the Capitals have played to 9 straight unders? 9. Could be 10 tonight. 9 straight unders with the Washington Capitals. Great goaltending from Logan Thompson. They really tightened up defensively. They win low-scoring games, and they're up 1-0 on Calgary now. That's pretty crazy trend. 9 in a row unders. That's hard to do in the NHL.
Cam, if somebody gave me odds, if he makes the Olympics,
Ottawa too.
I would say he's making the Olympics. Thompson will be on the Olympic team, I think. I mean, forget about Four Nations. Logan Thompson, he's looking ahead of things. And this guy's been phenomenal. Look, people have been coming after me, calling me a Capitals hater this year. I feel like every year I'm a hater of a certain team. You guys were saying last year I was a Vegas hater, this and that. I think this year the Capitals have been the team that I've been down on, and it's their goaltending. Obviously, they got good offense, but their goaltending.
You told me and Morency they were going to be the biggest surprise team. You're right.
I know, but then I said they were overachieving. Then I said they were overachieving all year, though.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. We'll get to the Super Bowl. Keep you up to date what's going on the hardwood right now, looking at the live NHL games. And interesting stuff in the NHL going on right now as there's a shutdown coming up here. There's going to be an extended 2+2 week break, essentially, in the National Hockey League. They don't have the All-Star game this time, this year. They're doing the Four Nations face-off, sort of a exhibition for the Olympics next year, because they're not doing anything in the summertime for this, and then they'll have the Olympics next year. But certain teams have already started to take a hit. But bringing up the Washington Capitals, the Capitals have been awesome. Logan Thompson, it's like 22-2 on the season. He just got a contract, like, over $6 million a year. But I find it interesting, like, goalies are so important, yet teams really don't want to pay them, right? And they just sort of go with the hot guy, but they realize we better pay Thompson. And if you look at Thompson, interesting story, this guy. Like, he's been doubted at every stage of his career, essentially. Like, he was undrafted by the National Hockey. He played, I believe, for the Brandon Wheat Kings. And he was good. Didn't get drafted. Like, he was like, all right, I'm kind of, what's going to happen now? He ended up playing in the East Coast Hockey League. And the East Coast Hockey League used to kind of be a big-time joke. It was like low-tier stuff. It was a goon league. It was basically, it was a minor-ass league, the East Coast Hockey League. But over the last 10 years or so, it's gotten much more credible. So he played in East Coast Hockey League. He got the crack at getting in the NHL. We saw he wins the Stanley Cup. He steps up when he had to. Now you see he's stepping up for the Washington Capitals again. No one ever believes in him. And you look at Team Canada, guys, and the biggest weakness that people look at Team Canada's roster was their goaltending coming into the Four Nations Cup. And McInnes, he's by far the best Canadian goaltender, and he's not even on the team. And no, he's not on the team. He even said, they never even spoke to me. Like, they never even called him and said, yeah, listen, we already made a decision, but you're doing great. They never even called him. And he's not too happy about it, actually. He, you know what I mean? He said, whatever, it is what it is. But if you look, and it's pretty crazy, but Darcy Kemper is playing better as well. And Blackwood. Like, it's actually pretty crazy, but the three top Canadian goalies right now that are playing the best are not even on Team Canada. Not one of the three of them, McInnes.
It's shocking, Gabe, but at the same time, is it? Because we all know it's the old boys club. It's the respect the guys that have been there before. Jordan Binnington, I was talking about this on a different show today. Jordan Binnington has won with the Team Canada jersey, on before. He's represented them before, right? You look at some of these players that are on this roster. Like, in my opinion, I don't want a player fresh off an injury. Pietrangelo, he just opted out and then played 25 minutes the next night for Vegas. That doesn't make much sense. But guess what? Drew Doughty might be the guy they bring up. And I've got buddies and people I know that think that Doughty's a good player.
Yeah.
I don't think he just missed 2.5 months of ice time. Bring Drew Doughty back.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I like Drew Doughty, but you're right. You're bang on. That's how Team Canada works. Well, he's a good guy. We had him in Brandon before, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll go back to that. They are stuck with that loyalty stuff, but they're not going to the right players. And like you said, we'll see about who steps in for Pietrangelo. But if there's a team, guys, that have really taken a hit, and I was saying coming into the tournament that I thought they were live, like, to be that third choice, because everyone's going to be in on Canada and the USA, but they can eliminate each other. Like, a lot of things can happen here, and it's such a short tournament. It's 3 freaking games and a final, essentially. So anything can happen. So I'm thinking, all right, Finland, I want to take Finland or Sweden. And now Sweden, though, have really taken a hit, guys. Like, they're out of goalies. They're out of defensemen. And now, like you just said about Pietrangelo, NHL owners are against this. They didn't even want this to begin with. Like, they want the players to shut down. And I even see a lot of fans, guys, complaining about this. Like I said, like I said, Cam, that everyone's a jerk now, but times have changed, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole Summit Series and stuff, people would complain now. What are we playing Russia for? What's the point of this? What is 8 games? What's going on?
The best games in history of hockey.
Phil Esposito might get hurt, man. You know what I mean? He's gonna get hurt. What about the Rangers? We're Stanley Cup.
And you know what the best
it's
thing
like guys are all idiots now. Like, I just see people bitching. Oh, this Four Nations is stupid and this and that. It's like, oh yeah, just shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even Kurtz, our boy Kurtz, he never cares about any of these things. He goes, I care about, like, Major League Baseball, not the World Baseball Classic. It's like, yeah, who cares about a Royals and Guardians game in June, bro?
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Breaking it down, we'll go to the Super Bowl. I got some early Super Bowl trends for everybody. Andrew McKinnis in the house. Cam Stewart in the house right now. 1-1. Calgary Flames have tied it with the Capitals. 2-1 Kraken. So the goals just keep coming tonight. 2-1 for the Kraken right now. With 8 minutes left in the first period of play, already 3 goals on the board. Total 7.5. Dallas Stars trailing the Vegas Golden Knights 2-1. 6 minutes left in the first. The Bucks are up on the Blazers right now. Not the most glamorous game in the association. And you know what? The Utah Jazz are getting like 14 points against Golden State. It's 23-22 right now. I like the under of the Cincinnati and the Utah game, but it's playing to the over right now. 23-20, pretty early for Cincinnati. 8 minutes left in the first half of play. But as I stated, the Team Sweden have taken a hit. I think this tournament, too, as you stated, McKinnis, like the NHL owners they don't like the Olympics because they don't make money off of it, right? The NBA thinks in a more global way than like the NHL is short-sighted, right? The NBA figures, whatever, dude. Like we'll send these guys to the Olympics, we'll sell more shoes, we'll cut more NBA TV deals in more countries, and they actually capitalize off it. The NHL owners look at it just like, hey, I'm not making money for 3 weeks because we're shutting down and our players are going to get hurt. So and it should be noted too, I've always said this, like just put the hockey in the Summer Olympics. They're problem solved. Like you don't have to shut the league down anymore, right? Because that's one thing that the NBA owners don't have to worry about. It's not in their season. And you can't say, oh, hockey doesn't belong in the summer. Dude, they play the Stanley Cup in July now.
Exactly.
Don't tell me it doesn't belong in the summer. They play in the summer. And the other thing, Cam, people are like, oh, not in the summer. When do you think the Summit Series was? It was in the summer.
Yes.
When was the Canada Cups? It was in August and September, etc. Right? It was
people really like
it
don't
was
really
summer.
think-
Like it's same thing. Like
Right. Nobody's using their noggins here. Like this has obviously been happening. And now with the technology, the way to make ice and stuff like that, look at all these hot weather places. It's in the desert, 120. They're playing hockey. They have primo facilities. They hired that guy from Edmonton who basically taught everybody this is how you do it when it gets hot to avoid slush.
Training camps basically open in July and August now in the NHL. The rookie
know.
camps
Guys,
and stuff like it's already
Florida's
they're already
hosting.
playing.
Florida's hosting a Winter Classic. Think about that. Florida is hosting a Winter Classic next year. So
Well, it did
that's
snow
all
there.
we need to know.
It is snowing there now, or this past week. So I guess that's one for Bettman. He announced it, and everyone mocked it, and then it snowed there. It was like, all right, see,
he's like, excellent.
He's like, I planned that. I planned that.
They did a game at Dodger Stadium before, and they pulled it off. Like, you can have ice, it's just not for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like with the
anytime game, it didn't work.
They have
like they have
coolers underneath.
The sun. They were so stupid in the NHL. They didn't even figure out the sun. And McKinnon's almost breaking his legs. He's skating in like literally water, man.
I think that was the Lake Tahoe game, wasn't it? Was the Lake Tahoe game?
Like, what are these guys doing? And even the players are like, "This is getting dangerous. Like, we're gonna get killed out there." Like, it was soft.
Tahoe was a weather issue. It wasn't cold enough, just point blank. Like it really was a problem, and I think they thought that it could be real ice type of deal. It's kind of hit or miss. You know, it's kind of dangerous, like you said. You're putting that's what. If I was an NHL owner, I'd be more concerned about my guys skating in slop in a football stadium, or on a side of a hill in Lake Tahoe than I would like playing an exhibition game against Finland. But hey, you know, it is what it is. But so that tournament will start after the Super Bowl. That's the last day of NHL hockey on Super Bowl Sunday. McKinnis, you're thinking about going to Montreal. I looked at the tickets. That's the hot game in this tournament. It's a Saturday night as well. Right, I believe. So it's Saturday night, Montreal, USA versus Canada. There'll be a buzz. The tickets, cheapest tickets, like $350, $400 or whatever to get in. Might come down a little bit, but it's cheaper for you to maybe just go to Boston for the championship game.
Yeah, it's funny how things work like that. And Gabe, I'm not going to lie, as much as, you know, I don't mind being in enemy territory, I kind of would want to really be around my own, you know, celebrate with everybody else wearing Canada's jersey too. But it'd be pretty sweet if it does end up happening. I don't want to jinx it, to go to the championship game at TD Garden, Canada versus USA. And like you mentioned, from where I live here, far east coast of Canada, actually closer to to Boston at Logan Airport than I am actually to going to Montreal. So just the way it works out. And the funny thing is, even with how horrible the dollar exchange is right now, it's cheaper to go to Boston, cheaper to fly, cheaper to buy tickets. I might as well just do that. So I think I'll be looking towards it.
That's how expensive Montreal is.
Nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And you hit it right on the head too, talking about hotels, because Montreal, that's what they live off of. They've been planning for this for a long time. I'll be very curious, though, to see, Gabe. People are going to be panicking and buying tickets right now. If you're smart and you live in Montreal, you be waiting until about an hour before puck drop and going to that game buying a ticket, because I feel like they're going to drop when they need people.
There will. And speaking of tickets dropping, the Super Bowl, I'm not surprised. So we kind of knew this coming in. We talked about it last week. There's going to be Kansas City Chief fatigue. Right? In the same way, like the Patriots Super Bowl tickets used to be pretty cheap because they made it every year. So going to a Super Bowl is a very expensive experience. So the casual common fan might be able to pull it off once in a lifetime or something, but it's hard every couple of years. And KC, it's like every year. And Philadelphia makes it quite a lot too. But Philadelphia fans going to be the ones carrying the market. But there's been some serious drops already. The cheapest ticket before the Bills lost was like $7,800. And now the cheapest ticket today is already $4,800. That's a massive drop considering the game's in 12 days only. Normally they don't panic. They always try to overcharge early to get the eager people, and they'll pay no matter what. Right. But the fact that you see this big of a market, the $14,000 end zone seats are now $10,000. I think you'll see guys whatever the cost price was for the tickets, that's what you're going to be able to pay, Cam. So you can go to the Super Bowl, because I know you This is your dream matchup. It was your lifetime dream to always see Philadelphia and KC live.
I'm literally going to go to the horse track for the Super Bowl. I've already made my decision. I'm going to go to Woodbine, play ponies, and I'll watch the game and hope my bets come in.
The game will just be on. It'll just be part of the day. It won't
there's no
be there.
party. I'm not working. The guy asked me, like, I usually work the Super Bowl. They offer you a little bit of money. He's like, nobody wants to do it anymore. Like, screw this game. I'm happy for Greg Frank, our producer. He's an Eagle fan. Fly, Eagle, fly. But I really don't care. I'm literally going to play ponies and watch the Waste Management all day and get wasted. And then I'm going to watch the game and go hope my bets come in. I don't even care anymore. Whoever wins, wins. I'm hoping it's Philadelphia because I'm going to bet on them. But honest to God, I couldn't care less. I wish it was Bills Washington, but we don't get what we want in life, Morency. You taught me that a long time ago.
I've also seen, too, that there's I've never seen the media complain so much about going somewhere as well. Like, there's just sort of a whole –
New Orleans.
It was like, New Orleans. Oh, that's going to be a long. Well, I was on a show earlier today in Vegas, Steve, the Cofield show, and there was guys from Pro Football Focus on and all these different sites, and everybody was like, yeah. Well, at least the food will be good, right? It was kind of like, and the problem is, guys, Cam, it's like the last 3 years, people were spoiled, and you can't just shut out the rest of America. But the thing is, like, people like it in Vegas, bro. You know what I mean? It's Vegas. Like, everything was right there. It's Vegas. The year before was like Phoenix. You know, it was nice weather, even though it was a little chilly, but it was like nice weather. There's casinos, and it's Arizona's really cool place. Before that, it was Los Angeles, which people like, right? So now you're sort of throwing in New Orleans here for the week, and it's the same matchup, and hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Gabe, knowing my luck, I go to the casino just outside of New Orleans. There'll be a bunch of grifters there with knives and guns, and they basically, if I had a heater on the blackjack table, it's gone. Best case scenario, I walk out of there alive. Like, I'm telling you, like, at least in Vegas, there's everything to do, and you know it's going to be, like, safe there. New Orleans is, don't go wandering there. Just a tip.
Well, the whole thing with New Orleans, it really is just sort of based off of Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
So, like, I know there's some sightseeing, but it's just everybody in one spot.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. I'll do a quick check of the scoreboard here. We'll get McKinnis' thoughts on the Super Bowl. 44-35 for the Bucs right now. 9 minutes left in the second quarter. They're laying 7.5. I thought the spread was kind of light tonight against Portland. In-game total 238.5 right now. And, of course, Damian Lillard returning to Portland. And you figure he'd kind of go off. He's got 12 points already. His in-game prop right now is 31.5. And in fact, it's a good time for the best of X if we can, Greg, here. It's a good thing that the Philadelphia Eagles are doing well because people won't talk about the Philadelphia 76ers issues. But can we go with the best of X here? Can you get this ready, Greg? So this is a pretty we got some pretty crazy numbers here about Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid tonight missed, guys, his 400th game of his career tonight. It's like a token, like
that's nuts.
Yeah, but get this. So he's played 440 games and he's missed 400 games.
Wow.
It's 47%. He's missed 40% of his games. He's made $256 million over the years to play like 53% of the time.
That's unreal.
That's pretty crazy, eh? Like 440. Can we get the best of X? Are we having a problem with this once again? Remember the other night, Cam was real. There we go.
That was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's
we got a shot here of
oh, that's great. Yes. That is
Anthony Davis left the game tonight with an injury, so this is a shot of him and Joel Embiid after the game
It's
consoling
like my
each
dad's retirement home. That's what you get. I love it. Amazing. That's so good, Gabe. This guy. You know what the funny thing too is?
Thanks to the hater report on Twitter X.
Oh,
the
that
hater
is
report.
so good. And he hasn't won yet. You can even make a case, go, hey, you got us a championship or whatever. No.
There's no championship ever going. That's not happening.
Exactly.
The process is done. The process is done. The Flyers are just middling, whatever. They're not close to winning anytime soon. They got some good young players, yeah, but they're not winning anytime soon.
That's true.
The Phillies. You got the Phillies and the Eagles. Yeah, you're a fan, McKinnis, of that? You love to see the Flyers struggle?
No. I was gonna say. Look, you were talking about the Four Nations, certain guys not getting calls. I got to show my bias at least once on the show here. 400 straight NHL games for Nick Suzuki, Ironman streak. All right, captain of the Montreal Canadiens. Joel Embiid's missing 600 games or whatever the number is. You said this guy's played 400 straight. Nick Suzuki wanted to propose to his girlfriend last summer, God forbid, and Team Canada can't give him a call. So I hate to draw it back to hockey on you, Gabe, but to me, that's just makes me sick. It makes me sick. These guys, and you know what? They'll still be praised by the fans. That's what's crazy to me. The fans defend those players. Like, I barely even see fans going after these players. They'll defend them until the day they're traded. That's what I don't understand the most. He's a good player when he plays, but if he plays 50% of the time, how is he a good player if he's barely ever out there?
$256 million as well. So, listen, the Sixers had their opportunity. Their window was when the Raptors won. Like they literally came as close to anyone as beating the Raptors, right? The Raptors didn't go 7 games to anybody else. They won in 5 in the first round. They beat the Bucks in 6. They beat the Sixers in 7, and they beat the Warriors in 6. And the Sixers nearly went to overtime. If that Kawhi shot doesn't go in, it would have went to overtime. And they had a good team, right? And they decided to pay Tobias Harris instead of Jimmy Butler. That was the route they took. Like, Jimmy Butler was ready to go back. And I don't think they liked, if you guys remember, Jimmy Butler he didn't call him out, but he basically said, we have some soft guys on the team. Like, if they tough it up, like, we could win a title. I think they sort of rubbed them a little bit wrong, and now Jimmy's a big head case now, years later. But speaking of that, all right, so the Super Bowl, it is what it is, and listen, man, I'm a Dodger fan, and people hate the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have won twice in like the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years or whatever. And, people are going to hate Kansas City, but it is a good matchup. They're the best teams. So from a football, people are all really down on this Super Bowl, but from a football perspective, the Eagles on paper are arguably the best team in football. And the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in football. So from a football perspective, it is a pretty damn good matchup, McKinnis and Cam. What's your early impression, McKinnis, in the Super Bowl? Who are you leaning with now?
I've got 3 picks that I've made so far, Gabe, and I'm just going to mention those 3 picks. The first one is Kansas City to win the game outright. I would rather go into this one backing the team that's won and had so much success over the last few years. I look at the last game that the Philadelphia Eagles played, and obviously I'm impressed. Obviously, I see what they did. Jalen Hurts played well. He found A.J. Brown, who's my favorite prop in that game. He found multiple targets. Obviously, Barkley doing really well, and the defense stood up, okay? But let's not kid ourselves and sit here and say that Washington did not have the 31st ranked rushing defense in the entire league during the regular season, because they did. All right, Barkley is good, but he was especially good last week, and he's still going to be great. I like KC. Same thing I said last week. If I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose betting on the defending champions in this price range. I locked in minus 125 on the Chiefs. I've also bet Mahomes over 28.5 rushing yards. He's hit this in 2 straight games, head-to-head against the Eagles. 6 rushing attempts for 38 yards, 6 rushing attempts for 44 yards. And the other bet that I made was Saquon Barkley under 13.5 receiving yards. KC ranks number 5 in receiving yards given up against the running back position. And with how good that guy's been just running the ball, why would they worry about throwing him the ball? Under 13.5 receiving yards, Saquon Barkley.
Bold, very bold, because one catch, he can pop that. We will say, let me throw this out to you, McKinnis, actually, and I like that you have these early picks, but I think that Saquon is going to be played so much that if you're looking to bet under Saquon Barkley props, I would almost like wait it out, because it's not like they're coming down. People are only going to bet this stuff, and it's only going to go up with Saquon Barkley. All right, we'll wrap up with McKinnis on the other side. We got Sean Higgs coming up. We've got our boy Mo Khan a little bit later on, actually, in Montreal. The Twisted Tuesday continues. Bring it.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We've got a close college basketball going on right now in Pittsburgh. The fish that saved Pittsburgh, 63-59.
The fish that saved Pittsburgh.
Great movie from the 70s. The fish that saved Pittsburgh.
What was
Dave
it with Tony
Sherapan.
Danza? Where Philadelphia, the garbage kicking Philadelphia kick, whatever. He was like,
that's another one.
Man. Yeah, that's
No, the fish that saved Pittsburgh was it was like a pro basketball team in Pittsburgh, and they were terrible. And they got a new owner, and they brought in a psychic type of crazy woman, and they got all players that were Pisces.
Amazing.
And so that's why they're like the fish that saved Pittsburgh. Other players were Pisces, and whatever. Like they had Dr. J, and there were like players in it and stuff. It was a cheesy movie, like a basketball movie, but it's almost like Caddyshack. It's almost like the Caddyshack. Like Set Shot came from that. It's almost like the Caddyshack of like basketball movies. Like a lot of younger people don't know it. And you know why? They haven't done a good job of like re-showing it, or like they're bad with the rights. Like there's barely any clips of it on YouTube. Like it says, copyright infringement and stuff. Like they want you to buy it. It's like, dude, just like make it like cheap and put it out there, and people like will see it. It'll become a cult classic and stuff. But all right, so yeah, we got a close one going on, 63-59, 5.5 left. So McKinnis, you like the Chiefs to win the game. Bold pick. You're going under Barkley receiving yards. And what was the third? You said you had 3. For the record, we won't speak next week because we're going to be in New Orleans, and we're going to be doing programming from there, but like not live at night type of deal. So we're going to be like during the day for the most part, and whatever through the evening. Super Bowl programming is always different when we're there. So good. Go. We get your picks. What's your third pick there that we didn't get?
Well, I think there's a couple different reasons why we can take this, but the other one was Mahomes over 28.5 rushing yards. Back-to-back games against the Eagles, he's had exactly 6 rushing attempts. First and foremost, I think he's going to have a hell of a lot more than 6 rushing attempts. We've seen him leaving the pocket quite a bit recently. Also, let's be honest, guys, I don't want to get into the whole referee stuff, but teams are scared to hit Mahomes. I mean, nobody wants to get a penalty right now. He knows it. He just tiptoes around, then walks out of bounds. He'll have more than 6, but his last 2 games, he had 38 and 44, over 28.5. He's going to face all kinds of pressure. And overall, I do like this Kansas City team. I just think it's going to be more of like a dink and dunk style, the way this Kansas City team works. I mean, one thing we got to say about Patrick Mahomes, as much as people might like him or not like him, he is not really worried about having the flashy plays. This guy lets his receivers do the work. They march the field and just make it look very easy, very simplistic. Guys can see he's at that point right now where he just wants to keep winning. He just finds his 7-yard target, hits that guy for a first down. I was counting some of the drives must have been 5, 6, 7 minutes this past weekend. If they can do that and keep the Eagles off the field, that's how they're going to find success. I don't expect to see 50, 60-yard bombs downfield from the Chiefs. That's not who they are anymore. They haven't been that team for a while, but I just think the simplistic approach, the experience level will help them out a little bit.
No, they don't make mistakes. Exactly. People always isolate plays after when teams lose to them. If Buffalo would have caught this, if Philly would have done that, if Baltimore would have done this, if they would have ran the ball more, blah, blah. There's always an if, you know what I mean? But how many times can we say, Baltimore should have beat them, Philly should have beat them, Buffalo should have beat them, and they win because they don't make mistakes. And it's never one play with them, right? Like it's an accumulation of just smart, like you said, McKinnis. You know what I mean? They're like if they were a hockey team, forecheck, backcheck, paycheck. Do it, rinse and repeat. And at the end of the game, we'll have more. Like, it's never like, you remember that one play that they made? No, it's like they just made 20 plays in the game, and they wore you out because dink, dunk, run, smart this, stop here, right? They're just a complete team. So we brought up McKinnis won't be with us next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, it'll be February the 11th. And speaking of the Four Nations, it starts Wednesday, February 12th. So perfect timing, McKinnis. The night before the Four Nations start, we got games on that Wednesday. And just for the record, we can get you the point spreads right now. Canada and Sweden on that Wednesday. Canada minus 260 favored. Sweden plus 210. Then on the Thursday, USA and Finland in Boston. The Sweden-Canada game is in Montreal. Then USA, Finland, and Boston. USA minus 250 favorites as well. I'm going to be all over the dogs in these games, guys. These numbers are just too big.
Agreed. Way too high.
One long shot pick I like here, guys, is 20-1 Mikko Rantanen to have the most points in the tournament. I mean, think about it. He's going to have to carry his team. People are going to be on Matthews, McKinnon, Crosby, all these guys. You got to kind of look at.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Mo Khan will join us a little bit later on. Normally, Rick Saratella joins us on Tuesdays. We'll catch up with Rick later in the week. Rick, there was a miscommunication on his behalf with the time zone. I'm throwing him under the bus now. But he got confused from the time zone as he's in Alabama for the Senior Bowl. And whatever, it's the Central Time Zone, threw him off with the Eastern Time Zone, and whatever, he was confused. And we're going to do it later in the week with Rick, but it's okay. Later in the week, you'll have more info of what's going on down there at the Senior Bowl. And don't forget, you can bet on the Senior Bowl. College football, not done yet. Right? We still have some All-Star games coming up here. All right. Before we bring Sean Higgs in, the Blazers have gone on a little bit of a run right now. We got a 58-57 game. Milwaukee Bucks only up 1, laying 4.5 right now in Portland. Total 235.5. I want to get out to a Blazer home game sometime. Warriors 57-45 right now. It was close before, but Golden State's starting to pull away. They're laying 12.5, total 220.5. College basketball, super close game late. ASU are up 69-66 on Colorado with 21 seconds left. Another really close game. BYU up 70-67 with 3.5 left. All close tonight. Notre Dame have just beaten Georgia Tech 71-68. This game's just gone final. We're watching the Pittsburgh, North Carolina game. The Panthers are now up 64-63 with 3:52 left. North Carolina getting 2.5 actually might be worth a look right now. Another close game. Texas A&M 61-59 on Oklahoma with 6 minutes left. One close game after another. Utah are up 40-34. We like the under 138. It's 146.5 right now. You got the Beavers and the Zags getting ready to dance. Gonzaga, minus 13.5-point favorites. 151.5 is the total. And San Jose State are actually up 22-10 right now on San Diego State. And so you're 12-point lead, but San Diego State are minus 2.5, minus 135 on the money line. I would expect that the Aztecs would come back. Let's bring in Sean Higgs right now. Sean, what do you think about these live college basketball games? Any in-game bets for you?
Yeah, well, I'm on the Colorado here. I got a -3, but I took them in-game at +3.5. They just missed back-to-back threes, and ASU's be going to the took a timeout there. So we'll see what happens with 20 seconds left here, 24 seconds.
I just took North Carolina plus the 2.5. Pittsburgh do have the ball, but there's like 3.5 minutes left here in this game. And I was going to say, that as soon as I bet it, Pittsburgh just launched a 3. I was going to say, with my luck, it's going to go in. I don't understand why they have the possession arrow. Just do a freaking jump ball, man. It's so stupid, the possession arrow in college basketball. And then what do you think, Cam? San Diego State right now, minus 135. San Jose State are up 12 early.
Yeah, 12. It's very early. They'll come back. And I was just going to ask your guys' opinion. Let's remember one thing. We were on the Oregon State Beavers when they beat Gonzaga outright, revenge spot, but that's a hell of a lot of points. Oregon State's they're playing really good basketball.
Yeah.
I want to take them, but it's very interesting, Gabe, because Gonzaga is going to be pissed because the Beavers beat them before, and they played really, really well against them. It's a lot of points, 13.5, though. And you know me, I like the Beavers. Chomp, chomp.
I just took the over 151.5. That last game was a track meet that they played, if you remember, Sean. And we were on the Beavers. I remember Cam, you liked the Beavers that night. They were at home getting points, but this means Gonzaga are going to be focused and angry tonight as well, Sean. What do you think about the Gonzaga-Oregon State game?
I wish I would have took it at 15 earlier in the day. It's down to 13.5 now. I mean, I like it. You know, I got a future on Gonzaga because early in the year, I'm like, wow, these guys look pretty good. Like they're seem to be focused and just reloading, not rebuilding. And then you see some of their losses this year. I don't think they're that good. I know they with the revenge spot. Who cares? I'll come back with the points here. I think it's going to be. But are they going to? It's what 13.5. So you got to be up by 20 to wheel off a late barrage of threes or nonsense. Are they winning by 17? I don't think they're going to be covered by 17 the entire game. Take the points.
Wow, and Pittsburgh just hit a big shot. 67-65. We got a good one. Just been some fun basketball games. So we got 2.5 minutes left in this one. So the Super Bowl, guys. I tweeted out.
Here we go. Hey, listen. So Arizona State fouled, missed 2 free throws, and they fouled Colorado shooting 3. Colorado line shooting 3 with 16 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, last night we saw in the Arizona game, you had real craziness late, right, with the late 3 from Caleb Love, and then they ended up winning the game. Maybe there'll be more insanity here tonight. It's almost like March Madness has arrived early, so we'll see if the kid can hit all 3, 69-66.
Do you foul a guy at the other foul line thinking he's going to lob up a Hail Mary and make it? I mean, everybody's like, oh, you got to foul him. He's going to make a 75-foot shot.
Yeah, and that, listen, he did a good job of creating space and stuff. And what are you going to do? You don't want to put the kid on the free throw line either, right, for 3? Yeah. I mean, let's be real. That was a 1 in 100 shot, right? I mean, like from
he hit
where,
2 or 3.
And we hit the over too, Gabe. We talk about bad beats. That was unbelievable last night. It was great.
Like I'm looking at the floor right now, like, but I'm just seeing it. Like he took it almost at his own free throw line. Like he did it pretty quickly. Like, you know what I mean? Like most times, like I guarantee you, they said, listen, if you know what I mean, if you can foul him, but he shot it so freaking fast. Like there was not much they can do. But yeah, you know what? I'm with you though, Sean. I would. What happened with the free throw? Did he miss the last one?
He missed the first one. Hit the next 2. Arizona just turned it over.
Oh boy, you might squeeze this out. Well, you got your plus points at least here. We'll see how it ends. There's 12 seconds left in the game. BYU are up 3 with 3:30 left. This game is a wild one right now. 69-65. Pitt keep on hitting threes right now late in the basketball game. In this one, we're waiting on Oregon State and Gonzaga to start. And I did jump in on San Diego State in-game, guys, and now it's 26-10. Now they're plus 160 on the money line, down 16 early to the Spartans. Big number. All right, I wanted to get to the Super Bowl trends, but We'll get people caught up to date. What's going on here? We got a break coming up. The Portland Trailblazers have now taken a lead on the Milwaukee Bucks, 64-61. They were down 36-31 after the first quarter. They outscored them by 8 in the second. Dame Lillard returning back to Portland. He's got 14 points at the half. His in-game total is 28.5 right now. The Blazers are laying 13.5 in-game to the visiting Utah Jazz. It's 62-51 at the half. In-game total, 224.5. Our boy Sean Higgs is stressing out the Colorado and Arizona State ending here with 12 seconds left. Lot of action going on. And let's check in with the National Hockey League. The goals have slowed down, Cam, with Dallas and Vegas. 3 goals in like the first 6 minutes of the hockey game, and there hasn't been a goal since. There's still 16 minutes left in the second period, but the in-game total back down to 6.5 right now.
Yeah, I see the over at 80 cents, Morency, but the Vegas is on the power play. If Dallas can get through this, then we're going to see probably a flat 6.5 there. Seattle and Anaheim, man, we should have the over in that game. 3-3 already. That's nuts. And then Washington and Calgary got the original 5.5, 2-1 Caps. Been a nice goaltending display in this game. But, Gabe, I'm with you. I think maybe this game can slow down like Dallas and Vegas. It's almost like a playoff style. If they can get out of this thing, I think you can still hit your under.
That's pretty wild, actually. Yeah, the Ducks and Kraken total was just 10.5, but they just literally just moved it to 9.5. Over 9.5 minus 140, under 9.5 plus 110. Anaheim Ducks and the Kraken are tied at 3 right now with a lot of hockey left. 17 minutes in the second period of play right now.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And the woes continue for Hubert Davis and the North Carolina Tar Heels. We jumped in on the heels when they were down 64-63. Nothing good has happened since for us. Pittsburgh have hit a couple of shots. And problem with North Carolina is they're soft. That, you know what I mean? This is like literally their problem. Like they're soft in the paint type of deal. Like, I know they're a blue blood and they got like big time recruits and Air Jordan and all this. And I still like respect them. And, you know, this has sort of been a pattern with them over the years with Hubert Davis where they heat up later in the year. But it's a bad combination. They're not a very good shooting team and they're soft in the paint. Like they've got a bunch of like 6'7" and 6'8" dudes. Like every time there was a loose ball, Pittsburgh got the ball. Like every time there was a battle on the glass, Pittsburgh came away with it. Like North Carolina just had a shot late. They were down 3 or 4 with like 40 seconds left or whatnot. They got like 3 cracks in it under the basket. The ball got swatted. Like they're just like not tough enough. And it's a classic case of, this is why when you see all like the recruiting stuff in the off season about, oh, they got this many 5 stars and 3 stars and 4 stars, whatever. Pittsburgh don't have any 4 or 5 star guys on their team, right? They might have a couple of 3-star recruits, 2-star, 3-star type of guys, but they battle freaking hard. And you got North Carolina, you got a bunch of 4 and 5-star guys, whatever. They all have like 72 free pairs of Nikes in their closet, but you get them on the floor against a team that's punching back, and they got a problem. And this North Carolina team right now, Sean, they got a problem. Like the losses are racking up pretty early in the season here for this team, man.
Yeah, what else is to say to that? This is a team that's the early losses. You go through the schedule, fine. You're losing to your Bamas and all these tough teams. Pitt's not kind of in that now. Do we give them a little bit of credit here because their losses were to Duke and Clemson, the Florida State better teams in the ACC, and you're playing home. We've talked about this college football as well. You go on the road, tough. You lose on the road. You have those kind of things. But North Carolina shouldn't be losing this. I mean, you're getting your.
You know what they're turning into? They're turning into LSU football.
Good call.
Where it's like you guys should be. You're good. Like you have all these big players, but like you're not winning and you're losing now. And listen, they made it to the championship 2 years ago, right? So, I'm not going to overly flip out on them, but just watching them play, like they just don't have it. Like they don't have the grit. Like they're a bunch of recruits. I've seen it before, and in fact, not this Michigan team, but the same thing happened under Beeline. They were just soft. Like Jalen Rose called it out for what it was. They asked him, what's the problem with Michigan basketball? He goes, there's not enough dark-skinned brothers from Detroit on the team. He goes, they're soft. Like, no, he called, like, you know what I mean? Like, he can get away with saying that, right? Like, yeah. He said they're soft, man. He goes, and he dug down deeper, though. He goes, look at the schools, like the high schools they recruit from. And he's like, kind of prep schools and, these white kids that shoot threes and stuff, like with Beeline. And, yeah, it's all good when the threes are falling, but you get murdered on the glass. Like, for years, guys, and same thing with football. Like, Michigan had, like, an elitist attitude, and Michigan State were, like, bringing in, like, kind of like the worst kids in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? And it did implode on them. Like, D'Antoni did have a bunch of bad kids. It was like Florida Gator Light type thing that he had going on. But same thing with Izzo. Izzo will take a rougher kid and sort of, like, say, all right, I'll calm him down. Michigan are always worried. Oh, you know what? He's a little bit too, he's kind of crazy, this kid. Now, like with May, whatever, he's a great recruiter. But I'm just saying with North Carolina, they're just kind of soft. Right? They just kind of have a soft vibe.
Beeline was the same way when they went deep. And want to know why they went deep? Because they had the hottest three-point shooters, Hair Bear, his kid, Beeline, and they had that crazy trailer park guy with no teeth and tattoos, Pittsnoggle, at the center, and they used to just like grind. But all of Beeline's teams have always been like, all they do is shoot triples, and that doesn't fly. If you're not there, it's a bad recipe. You need to pound and pound and pound. Excellent point by you and LSU.
Well,
North Carolina's
the best college teams in basketball right now are all like super athletic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I know UConn sort of grinded out a bit, but even they have NBA talent all the time. Yeah. But look at all those SEC teams, man. Like. You got to be able to fly around. You got to be tough, right? Like, like I said, North Carolina, they're just not tough. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they're just not tough. Like they're not tough enough. San Jose State are blitzing San Diego State, man. 33-16 right now. Wow.
Crazy. Oh, my God. The Spartans?
Yeah. And San Diego State's offense isn't built to come back from deficits like this.
No.
They just hit a 3, but it's plus 180 right now. All right, I keep on saying I want to get to the trends of the Super Bowl, so I'm going to get to these Super Bowl trends. And I did post, I tweeted out this first one, and it's pretty crazy, this one, that the team with the better record, the better regular season record in the Super Bowl is 2-19-1 against the spread in the last 21 Super Bowls. So 22 Super Bowls. So in other words, like the Eagles had a great season, but the Chiefs only lost twice. So you got 15-2 and 14-3. The team with the worst record, 19-2-1 against the spread in the last 22 Super Bowls, which is an unbelievable number right there. And there's a lot of stuff, too, like the team with the better defense wins the Super Bowl, like basically 90% of the time. And as good as Kansas City's defense is, Philadelphia actually have the higher-ranked defense. They have the better defense. On paper, Sean, the Eagles are the better football team, but a lot of teams are better on paper than the Chiefs. And I guess paper really isn't worth anything, is it?
No, not when you got to line up, because the Eagles were a better team in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they had, 24-10 lead, and they got blitzed in the second half. So that doesn't make a difference. Better team on paper. That's great. What does that get you?
The favorite is 9-18-2 against the spread as well. So favorites, and I know it's a really short number, but favorites 9-18-2 against the spread in the last 22 Super Bowls. The team with the better record, 2-19-1 against the spread. And our boy Greg Frank will like this one. Teams that get to the Super Bowl and that had to play in the wild card round are 13-1-1 against the spread the last 15 times that this has happened.
Love these Eagle trends. Excellent.
A lot of trends point to the Eagles.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Quickest 120 minutes in sports talk and television continues. We were just talking about some of the Super Bowl trends, and there'll be a lot of them on both sides throughout the week. But there's a few that that have been kind of tested and battle tested over the years. And the higher ranked defense does win the Super Bowl. It's pretty wild that the team with the worst regular season record is actually 19-2-1 against the spread the last 22 Super Bowls. But, Patrick Mahomes, man, look, the Chiefs are 12-0 in one-score games this year. And I'll throw this out there, actually. And Jake Elliott used to be a good kicker. He isn't anymore. And I was looking over, getting pretty detailed at some of these Super Bowl, the history of the Super Bowl. All right, a good example is, guys, and let's bring Mo Khan in right now. Mo, good to see you, my man. TSN statistician, CEBL, play-by-play voice, former wide receiver, meteorologist. What's going on, Mo? How you doing tonight?
Gabe, I am well. UNC choked against Pitt, but what do you expect from ACC basketball? That's how it is in college sports now.
I was just talking about that game, Mo, and you watched the end of that game against Pittsburgh. And the fact is, North Carolina, they're just soft, bro. Right, yeah. I brought it up. I'm like, all right, you can have 4- and 5-star recruits, but if they're soft, it doesn't matter. That's why with these college football rankings all the time, whatever, dude. 5-star this, 5-star that doesn't mean anything. It just means that half of them are going to be divas for the most part. But North Carolina in the paint, on the glass, every 50-50 ball Pittsburgh gets, and it's a common theme with this North Carolina team. They're just not physically tough enough. They're just soft. You know what? I said they're like LSU, but they're the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I mean? I said, you got 200 free pairs of Nikes and you're treated like royalty. You're basically playing for a pro organization, but they're just soft, Mo, in my opinion.
The UNC is now a soccer school. That's what it's become now, UNC, right?
Lacrosse school.
Lacrosse school.
Hey, let's not forget the Vermont Catamounts are the national champions.
That's right. That's right. That's. But, watching that game in the second half, it was a lot of dribble, one-on-one, RJ Davis, Cadeau going to the net and getting the shot blocked. There was no passing, no ball movement, no body movement on the court. And this is a quad one game for UNC and for Pitt. And now for Pitt, they have the edge going towards the final 6 weeks of the regular season if it comes down to them being a bubble team or them maybe getting into this whole tournament thing here. So for UNC, a bad loss, and now they got to run the table, I think, in the ACC to be in that conversation for March basketball at that point.
Yeah, it seems like UNC now, they had the one run to the final, but it seems like more and more we're getting more of this. They're in a panic just to try to get into the tournament, that they need to get hot late. And they had better players in the past, right? And, to turn it up a notch. Now they don't. Let's just quickly check in with that San Diego State game right now. That's the surprise of the night going on as well. Kentucky won tonight. Kentucky getting 11 points. I like that.
That was a good win by them today.
Yeah, that was a big win. It shouldn't have been 11 points. That SEC, the other night I took on Saturday, guys, I took Tennessee plus the 7 against Auburn. It was a 2-point game. And then tonight I see 11. I'm like, all right. If you look at Kentucky, all their losses are about 3, 2, 5. They don't get blown out. But San Diego State are chipping away here, 36-25 right now. They were down big. Now they're down 11 only.
They're not going to give up, Gabe. Who was that final game? Was it Vermont over Marshall in the soccer championship?
Yeah.
We bet it that night. I got to ask you guys, though, too. Isn't it interesting how North Carolina, you talk about the flip, and I think the football team with Bill Belichick's going to be different, Mo, but what do you guys think? To look at Indiana. Indiana used to be all basketball. Now their football program is better. What changes these schools, or what are the factors? Because you see a lot of these prolific basketball schools now leaning on the football program.
Not enough money in Indiana, Cam.
Yeah, not enough. It's all about
they can't keep up. No, but they can't. They're one of those old school programs like Nebraska in football or something. And I know Nebraska's got a little bit of shot in the arm lately in football, but you know what I mean, Mo? They don't have the money.
Yeah.
Like Indiana. It's not flashy enough. The modern recruit doesn't care about Gene Hackman and movie Hoosiers.
No,
You know what I mean?
UNC.
You know, I'm just being real. That's like there's
great
no
movie,
mystique
though.
anymore to it. Now it's just like, why would I move to Indiana? Like, why would I do that? Like, you know,
Like SMU right now is a more appealing football program than UNC is.
Yeah.
Like, even with Bill Belichick, because there's more oil money to be had in Texas that can pay these guys to stay in Dallas.
they got
Fort
deep
Worth
pockets, deep alum.
and go to
Exactly.
Capitol, 100%.
And Belichick is only going to get the certain type of guy. Yeah, he's going to get the tough kid with the tough parents and stuff like that. But they're going to be talent challenged.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. We're throwing it down. Countdown to kickoff is on the Super Bowl. Like I said, I know there's a lot of anger or sort of about this Super Bowl. And in fact, I've never seen anything like it. But it is a great football matchup. People just don't like the teams. That's the problem. People just, they're not a fan of the teams. But as we were stating, we're going to be in New Orleans on Media Row like we have been in past years once again. And we've got some really good guests lined up. And in fact, I can tell you, next Thursday, we'll be speaking with Emmitt Smith.
Nice.
We got Kyle Rudolph, Emmitt Smith, Sean Merriman, Mike Detillier, Sean Alexander, Cam. Yeah, old school Seahawks, Sean Alexander.
The good old days. I love Sean Alexander, baby. Multiple touchdowns. That's awesome. He's a nice guy in real life. He's got a lot of patience. He's a cool guy.
I'm a little jealous, though, because I know Thurman Thomas is going on the Scott Farrell show, and should probably do a trade. I'm going to ask Farrell. You want Emmitt Smith for Thurman Thomas, like a football trade? Give me Thurman Thomas, and I'll give you Emmitt Smith. I'm the Bills fan. Like, you know what I mean?
Good deal for both.
Who's going to turn down Mo? Speaking of Emmitt Smith, but I'm like, I'll trade him for for Thurman Thomas.
Good call, Moretz. I'd like to see you interview Thurman Thomas. This guy's still in Buffalo, like running gyms and all sorts of stuff. Like when I was down there,
he's a big local hero there.
Yeah, he is a local hero. This guy's great.
He's one of those guys that can live anywhere, but just fell in love with the people. I don't want to live in the past too much, Mo. It's one of those deals where it's like I just want to move on from it.
Right.
But what did you think of the Buffalo Bills? Did the Bills lose and choke, or did the Chiefs just win? What's your take on the Bills' failure again?
I thought the Chiefs staff outfoxed the Bills most of the time. But, it perplexed me, guys, when they were down 21-10. They drive the score to make it 21-16, kick the extra point, flag, move it up for the 2-point convert. There was no need to go for two late in the first half. You weren't chasing the game at that point, guys. You still had a whole half of football to go. So you essentially lost down 2 points. You lost down 2 points afterwards. You lose by 3. And if you do all the mathematical formulas, had they gone according to what it's supposed to be, kick the extra point after a touchdown, at minimum, this game would have gone to overtime. But quite frankly, guys, there's some issues with Buffalo. They had no pass rush from Von Miller, Greg Rousseau. They were nowhere to be found. Ed Oliver had a great game, blasted his way through on the interior D-line. I just thought that in the situation that it was, where was James Cook in the critical moment of that fourth quarter? Nowhere to be found because they took him off the field when he was supposed to be on the field. This reminds me of USC with Reggie Bush and Landell White when they lost to Texas in 2006. So I just think that Sean McDermott, I know, Gabe, I saw you tweets afterwards about the disdain for him, but he was not in the moment. Neither was Josh Allen. It felt like the Bills did not embrace it, and they looked like deer in headlights at that moment. They could have won that game, guys. They should have won that game. But they let the Kansas City Chiefs control the narrative, and now they're going to play in New Orleans against the Eagles in 10 days.
Yeah, and I don't want to fire McDermott. I brought it up earlier in the day on another show in Vegas with Caulfield. Caulfield is McDermott sort of reminded me of Marty Schottenheimer now, right? And you got to be careful. You fire coaches, it's like, all right, who are you going to hire after, and who's the right guy to take over? But I do agree, and I said a lot of the same things. I thought that they were out-coached at times. And a big thing, too, guys, for whatever reason, you can see it from the start, the Bills were flat, right? Like, they didn't have that energy. Like, it was almost like I could tell, Josh is usually really fired up early, and he throws the ball too hard, but he was kind of not too fired up. He was kind of, like, numb or something. And it reminded me of the game against the Bengals a couple of years ago, where they just came out and it was like, guys, you realize this is a playoff game, right? And Kansas City from the get-go, from the first drive, were crisp. Buffalo spotted the lead and just sort of were playing uphill. I agree with you with the two there. And listen, we can go on and on about this and that. But with Josh Allen, and, it's a lot of Josh Allen's the victim stuff. And I'm not blaming Josh Allen, but at the same point in time, it's hard to be, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever if you've never won a road playoff game in your career. Like, you got to figure this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Bills have not won a road playoff game since 1993. Same thing with McDermott. It's like, bro, like, once. You got to win one game on the road. We're not asking you to win, one. They can't do it, right? I mean, they couldn't beat the Houston Texans. They couldn't beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. They couldn't beat this, that. I could go on and on of all their losses on the road over the years in the playoffs. But it's time and time again. So, and it's pretty clear. If you can't win on the road, then you better freaking get home field advantage, right? I mean, that's basically it for Buffalo, right? Can you get home field advantage, narrow it down to 2 games, and then maybe one of these years they can break through. But it is what it is, and there's not really much to break down with the Commanders. Good year for them. They were overwhelmed. So I brought up some of these trends, guys, if you're just joining us right now, that the favorite in the last 22 Super Bowls is 9-18-2 against the spread. The team with the better record is 2-19-1 against the spread, which is very bizarre. And it's a strange one too. The teams that have had to play on wild card weekend, so not necessarily wild card teams, but teams that had to play, because look, the Eagles won their division, but teams that had to play on wild card weekend are 13-1-1 against the spread the last 15 times in the Super Bowl, or the 15 times it's happened in the Super Bowl. There's a lot of betting trends that point in Philadelphia's direction, Mo, but is that enough to get you there? Can the Philadelphia Eagles stop the juggernaut that is the Kansas City Chiefs? What do you think about the game?
So looking at Vic Fangio, right? When he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos, he went 0-6 against the Chiefs, and his defense gave up 20 points per game on average. So, and look, Broncos aren't what the Eagles are today, guys, right? So I expect them to have a better effort from their D-line. But for me, what it'll come down to will be that front four for Philly. How disciplined will they be, right? Jalen Carter has been a monster, and if there's a weak link on this Chiefs team, it's their O-line. Carter has to be a monster. Nolan Smith has to be a monster. Brandon Graham it looks like might be activated off the IR to play in this game in 10 days from now. So how many reps will he get? So I just think the game that we saw 2 years ago where the front four was non-existent, that front four has to win it for Philadelphia if they're going to get that chance to win in the fourth quarter. Because, look, this is a completely different team from 2 years ago where it was 400-yard passing by Jalen Hurts. No more. It's about Saquon Barkley, that O-line for Philadelphia, and what, most importantly, can Vic Fangio come up from his concoction of exotic looks out there, with Spagnuolo included, to win this football game in New Orleans with these two teams.
Oh, Daniels didn't have a chance in that game because Carter in that line was all over him. He was skipping balls into Eckler and stuff. Like, one thing, the Bills didn't get pressure on Mahomes the way Philadelphia can. Me and Morency were talking about it. Like, that Philadelphia, those guys are killers up front. Like, they're absolute animals, and Mahomes could do his little thing. I get it. He's like a snake. He's elusive, but I'm telling you, that is a whole different beast that you're facing these guys. You're not going to have as much time in this game, and that's, I think, the advantage of Philadelphia. I think they can get to him, Gabe and Mo.
Well, Philadelphia, like you said, Mo and Cam, but it's almost like Buffalo. If not now, when? If you're Philadelphia, you have all the tools to beat them. Now you just have to go and do it. You didn't have Saquon Barkley last time 2 years ago. You also, I think it'll really help Philadelphia being there already, right? Yeah. That was Jalen Hurts' first Super Bowl. I know he's not 100% healthy right now, but he looks pretty fine. He was beat up on that last Super Bowl. I think nerves kicked in with Sirianni and all of them. Plus, it was a close game, and there were some controversial calls in that game late in the football game. But I think the experience of being in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago will really help them this time. And then, they have Saquon Barkley, which they didn't have last time. This is a dynamic. They don't have to rely on Jalen Hurts to win the football game. They can rely on Saquon. And, I know we're coming up against the break, and I was complaining a lot, Mo, about, because I love what the Bills did in the third quarter. They ran the ball for 73 yards. That was championship-looking football. Like, I was like, we got this. They're starting to wake up. Just pound the rock. James Cook is the best player on the field. Just keep giving it to him. And I was complaining about it, and I think he only got 2 touches in the fourth quarter, but he did keep taking himself out of the football game. So, I don't know if it was an injury or if it was on him, but the more I see, and it is true, there were numerous times, man, after he tapped on his helmet and he would come out of the game on his own.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency, the pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Our boy Greg Frank, big Eagles fan in Master Control. And he was at the heartbreaking game a couple of years ago, seeing the Eagles lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. So we got the rematch from a couple of years ago, and it was a super close game, high scoring, 38-35 final. And in past years, the Super Bowl were always, they were never close. And it was like the point spread didn't matter. They were blowouts, and whoever was going to win the game, it was going to be a rout, basically. But the past history of these games have been really close. Last year, 25, and Kansas City are like New England, guys. All right? Like, they don't win blowouts when they win Super Bowls. 25, they beat San Francisco 25-22 last year. They beat Philadelphia 38-35 the year before that. The Rams won 23-20. So we've had 3 consecutive 3-point games in the Super Bowl. Kansas City, when they lost, they did get blown out. They lost 31-9 to Tampa Bay, which feels like a hell of a lot longer than it is. The 31-20 game actually was close, and they scored super late twice against San Francisco. Oh, yeah. So I think a teaser will be in play here, and I think they'll be put up on the board in this game. What's your early lean with this game, Mo, right now? Because we won't be on next week. We're going to be in New Orleans. Right. So what's your early pick for the Super Bowl now?
Right now, I'm leaning towards KC. I think they just have, as you said before off air, guys, they know how to play in that moment, right? They read the room well enough in situations. And as I said to you guys before, if that front four for Philly cannot get to Mahomes or just aggravate that O-line to make it uncomfortable for him, Mahomes is going to just dink and dunk to whether P. Ryan's open, whether it's going to be Xavier Worthy. And for Andy Reid, he always finds that matchup that he can exploit. It could be Travis Kelce in 10 days from now. It could be the backup tight end. It could be the O-line that catches 4 or 5 footballs in that matchup. It's a matter of how disciplined would Philly be. But I think in reading the moment and reading that potential play that could happen for KC, they're just better equipped right now. But again, my pick is now fully confirmed, but I'm leaning towards KC right now.
Hard to get in front of a team that's 12-0 in one-score games. A lot of times when you play these dynasty type of teams, it's like, well, as long as the game is close late, we'll have a chance. That's sort of what we want to, you know what I mean? We'll get into the fourth quarter, we'll get into the third period or what, and like if it's close. But that's what KC want. Like that's their, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, the one time they lost, they just got ambushed. You got to punch them in the mouth early. That was Buffalo's problem. Like you can't let them score first and start dictating things. You got to just smack them around and suffocate them early. I'm leaning Philadelphia early here. I know Cam is out of spite. With
like
two teams you hate, Kansas City and the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
I do. I hate the Golden Knights, and they're up 3-2. They gave them a 5-on-3. Anyway, Morency, so that total's kind of in limbo. But I'm just going to say there are some mismatches, and the big one, the obvious one, too, is Barkley. They've never had a running game like this before, too. And you talk about Kelce, we got Goddard. Goddard's an absolute beast, too. Philadelphia has a great experienced secondary. Like, it's tough. Like, they're very, very good. And what they did to Daniels in that Washington offense, I know they scored touchdowns and stuff, but I've never seen Daniels like take that much pressure, misread balls because he was under duress the whole game. And he's more elusive than Mahomes. And Mahomes, obviously the experience, obviously one of the best ever in clutch games. But I'm telling you, I think I see Philadelphia guys having edges in many, many areas in this game. That's my take.
I agree. I don't disagree. It's just Kansas City don't make mistakes. So Philadelphia are going to need to play like a near perfect game. You can't turn the ball over. You've got to convert. One thing, though, Philadelphia is so good on those 4th down conversions. But as I was saying, guys, I want to get to something here because I thought this was pretty pertinent with the history of the Super Bowl. So, look, we were talking about losing teams and this and that. Okay, that's one thing. But I've got the numbers here for everything. So, like, the team that has more yards, all right, like more yards. They're 9 in the last 20 years, 9-11 straight up. The team that gives up less yards on defense, 11-10 straight up. Yards per point difference, 13-8. Red zone TD percentage, who has the higher TD percentage, 11-10. But you notice there's a lot of this stuff that's sort of even with the Super Bowl. Right. Now you get down to here. How about this? The team that has a better field goal kicker, which team has a higher field goal percentage made, is 15-6 the last 21 Super Bowls. Who has the better kicker? Kansas City. How about this? Field goal percentage made against. Same thing. The team wins more. Kansas City. And we saw, I brought it up earlier, guys, Jake Elliott is pretty shaky now, Mo, and Bucker is anything but shaky. And in a close game, when you just talked about, like, the Bills going for twos and stuff like that, every point matters in these games. And we saw Elliott miss that 54-yarder. It didn't matter against the Commanders, but it's hard not to say that, yeah, you trust Butker a hell of a lot more than Elliott and in a close football game.
You do, but remember, Butker's coming off his injury from middle of the season, right? So, I mean, there is that edge that you want to give to special teams in this moment here that Butker should kick that game-winning moment for KC to beat Philly. But, you know, if Jake Elliott just can get his mentals in focus, and remember, this is indoors now, so there's no outdoor elements that can impact kicks for him, and that's going to be out of the equation right now. But you know what, though, guys? It might be the fake punt that we saw from the Commanders that exploited Philadelphia. That might be coming from Philly's way towards them. And two other things to look at for Philadelphia is the health of their O-line. Dickerson and Jurgens both are banged up. And those are two key components of that front five. If they're not healthy, and with Chris Jones and Karlaftis coming off the edge, that could be the weak point for Philadelphia and their O-line being exploited by the front seven of KC.
So we've got Super Bowl specials up right now. There's going to be a ton of these props going to be coming out. Kickoff return for a touchdown. Will there be a kickoff return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl? 22-1 at any time in the football game. It's a pretty nice number. You know, if you're looking for a little bit of a flyer. Will a quarterback record a reception in the football game? 18-1. Both teams to complete their first pass attempt, plus 120. Not quite as flashy. Coin toss result, plus 100 on both sides. So at least the sportsbook's giving you a puncher's chance here. As far as the coin toss result is concerned, it's very evenly matched. In 58 Super Bowls, it's come up tails 30 times and heads 28 times, although it has been a little bit of a heads run as of late. 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, heads.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on them. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Speaking of, I brought this up earlier. I said that this Super Bowl kind of reminds me of Notre Dame and Ohio State. Like the Chiefs are my Ohio State, and Notre Dame are just sort of like the Eagles. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? But I do like Saquon Barkley. You know what? We did a good funny best of X earlier. We got to get another one up tomorrow. I tweeted out the video earlier, but it was a Michigan fan, and this is Ryan Day's life. Like the guy can't escape. It's like Fred Flintstone when he joined the Food Anonymous. And the guy was like, Fred was like about to eat something, and Buddy would like pull the ribs off his table and go oink, oink, oink in front of him. And like steal, like, and he'd always he was driving Fred crazy. He's driving him.
That's the best.
He was driving crazy. But so if you're Ryan Day, it's the same thing. So Ryan Day was walking down the street, and he's got a big smile on his face, and some dude comes up to him and says, "Hey, Ryan, how you doing, man?" And Ryan's like, hey, nice to meet you. And he's like, can I get a picture with you? And Ryan Day's like friendly and goes, yeah, it was like outside of a hotel. And Ryan Day goes, yeah, no problem. And Buddy, as soon as he takes the picture, Buddy goes, 4 straight, Buddy, 4 straight, go blue. I hope they extend you. It's like poor Ryan Day's leaving a hotel.
I can't even enjoy a national championship.
Like, goes 4-0, man, 4-0. I hope they. He's like, extend Ryan Day, and Ryan Day just sort of shakes his head and walks off.
Ryan Day, that's stupid.
This guy's getting terrorized on the street now by people. So before we get you out of here, Mo, Pete Carroll, there was a lot of talk about what the Raiders are going to do. I thought that Brady was going to get his guy in Ben Johnson. I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing that they didn't get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's not some sort of stone cold lock. He's going to be a great coach. But what do you think about Pete Carroll's hire with the Raiders?
Well, Cam knows he's a big Seahawk guy. He's a culture changer type of coach, right? He's going to come in and change the whole formats of this team. And that's what they needed, is a guy who's going to change the culture of this team that's been morbid for 23 years and counting since their last playoff win in 2002. So I just think now for Pete Carroll and for Mark Davis, the owner, does he remain patient to give Spytek and Carroll and Tom Brady the time needed to build up this team? Because look, that AFC West is death row, and that AFC as a whole is like a Himalayan mountain to climb right now. They're nowhere near competitive to win or get into the wild card position. This is going to be a 2-3 year project. If they hit on their draft picks, and that's going to be key for them, if they hit on the draft picks, it could be expedited by the fact that Pete Carroll will get this team to play beyond their means.
He used to be great at the draft. Remember when Seattle had that draft game? Or picking up sixth round, Russell Wilson, like deep. Like they've had like one thing he did when he was outside of USC, he drafted well. He's a great motivator, Mo, but he's got to surround himself. He's not an X's and O's guy. He needs he'll do the motivation, but he needs the football guys there for the Raiders too. Like that's the whole thing, because he can't do the players will like him, but he needs football people. He'll handle the positivity.
He's a CEO right now for the Raiders going into this season.
But look, it was a credibility hire. I'm not worried about his age. He relates to young people. He relates to players very, very well. He's got a 3-year deal and sort of turning it around and just stop making they're basically like a business that's losing money every day, almost literally and figuratively. But they're like a business that's like, okay, let's bring in people and let's just start breaking even, and then we'll take it from there. Right. I mean, and to me, people are like, oh, he's old and blah, blah. It's like, yeah, he's a better coach than all these coaches who are on the market, right? He's a proven coach, especially in the short term. His raw stuff sells, to people. They'll tune it out after a while, but it sells. And I think, Mo, I mean, it seems we only got about a minute left here, but you're the Raider fan. I was actually on with in Las Vegas radio today, and we're talking about it. But I think Russell Wilson is going to end up with the Las Vegas Raiders now. We always knew they were going to go with the vet route, but I think Russell Wilson's going to be the guy.
I think so. It stays in the head of trying to move up to get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. They can stick at 6, take the best player available, and they have 4 of the top 100 picks in the NFL draft this spring. So that's where they're going to have to really hit on those picks, guys, and really form that foundation going towards training camp in July.
Man, they're bad at the draft, the Raiders, though. They really are one of these teams.
Last one was decent.
No, this one was. Listen, I like Brock Bowers a lot. I know they've done okay, but there's been a lot of misses.
Awful.
Basically 4 of their last 6 first-round draft picks aren't even on the team anymore. Type of thing. It's been or exactly right. or arrested, not on the team. So they just sort of have to stop the bleeding there. Great stuff, Mo. We'll catch up with you in 2 weeks. We'll see you online. NHL hockey right now. Vegas still up 3-2 late. We'll see you tomorrow, Cam. We'll have Brady Cannon. We'll have some goal picks.
Yep.
Other than that, you're on your own later.